Hi, I'm Jillybean Fitzhenry. Welcome to another one of my acrylic painting lessons. I hope you enjoy, and remember you can find all of the brushes as well as many other designs on my website, jillybean.net. The original piece is done on a 12 by 24 canvas, and I start by just base coating the entire canvas with lamp black, and I do like to use the Dynasty Palmer brush in order to base coat faster. The bristles allow you to get down into the crevices so that you can apply the paint a little bit thicker, and so it saves on time in order to get the prep work done. So the entire piece was base coated with the DecoArt Lamp Black to begin with. Let it dry, and then I wanted to trace on just a little bit of my pattern, not the entire piece. I want the angel in the center to get traced on, and I also, on the bottom half of the canvas, I just need to mark where the scrolls are, just in that bottom edge here, because I wanted to paint blue underneath that scroll work and leave it black up above there. So I've already gone ahead and painted the blue into that area using a large flat brush. The Dynasty Full Swirl really works nice for that. And so I just went underneath all of that area. I mixed a color for this, which was the DecoArt Traditions Ultramarine Blue with just a little bit of the dark gray into it. I wanted a nice solid color across the bottom, but when I get to where the top of that little scroll was, I just kind of did a little bit of a dry brush to end the color there. Then in the center where my angel is, I did transfer the pattern on there using white graphite paper and a stylus. Just slip the graphite paper between your pattern and your surface. There is a right and a wrong side. So you always want to kind of check to make sure that it's where it's supposed to be. And then just use the stylus to go ahead and trace your lines. Okay, if your lines don't show up as dark as you need them to be, you can always take a chalk pencil and go ahead and trace over the lines that you might need just a little bit more help seeing. The area above the angel, starting from where the wings are and the head, I also wanted that same blue color that I mixed. You could also use, if you still have it available, the DecoArt Admiral Blue in the Americana is another really pretty color, or just your favorite dark blue, whatever you might happen to have around that you like that color. So I put 2 coats there again, used my large faux squirrel flat brush to get the color on there. Do at least 2 coats. You want a nice solid coverage. Then I want to get a little bit of a glow going around the head. So I'm going to start with some Traditions Titanium White and my base coat mix. I'll take some water, and I'm going to try to do this just with water to start with. I just want to wet the area because I want to be able to blend a little bit of a glow right next to the head. Now, if you need more time to play, you could put extender on here instead, but I'm going to see if I can't get it just with the water for now so that I have more time to play, or a little bit, less time, drying time. I want to be able to get to the next steps a little faster. Okay, now I'm going to use this same big, large flat brush, and I've got water, but I wipe it off on the bowl. my water bowl, and I'm going to start by kind of loading the brush with the color on the entire brush. Okay, and really kind of work that in. Then I want to get a corner load of the titanium white, and I'm going to blend that so that the white stays just on one half of the brush. I don't want it to look too bright. That's why I filled the entire brush with the blue to begin with. Now if the white is still too stands out too much, I would pick up a little bit more blue to get in there. Okay, then I'm going to go around the head right next to the angel here, and I didn't do the wings, I just went around the head area and then really softly blend. Now this is where the faux squirrel brush comes in nice, because it does have a little bit softer bristles, little softer hair, yet there's a lot of them, so it allows you to put the color on, but then you can have just a light touch and you're able to blend it easily. And I'm just kind of working it into the canvas here, and then I come back with a gentle touch and just kind of soften and smooth. But I want to get the paint off the brush and into the crevices. So I do kind of work that in a little bit. I'm not going to be able to do it in just one complete stroke all the way around. So work that in, and then just a soft stroke to finish blending that. Okay, and you can always, come back and add a little bit more of a wash of the blue if you get it a little bit too bright to start with. Okay, then I want to just start with some preliminary base coating of some of the areas of the angel. One of the areas is the face. It's going to take a few coats because I've got black on there, and I'm going to use the DecoArt Flesh Tone to fill in all the skin areas. Now, when you're base coating, it really does go a lot faster if you use either a filbert brush or a round brush. A flat brush actually wipes it off faster than you can put it on. So I'm going to start out with the black gold filbert, and this is a number 10. Because it's a new brush, I'm going to rinse it in water to start with and blot it on a paper towel. Okay, but I really don't want to thin the paint down. If I can keep from doing that, I'll be able to get my base coating done a little bit faster. Now, one of the reasons why a filbert brush works so nice for basing is because of the angle that you just naturally hold that brush at. Kind of a 45-degree angle when you're using it, where when you're using a flat or an angle brush, you usually have the handle a little bit more up in the air and it kind of wipes the paint off as fast as you can put it on. So the skin areas are the face, the neck, and we'll come back after this is nice and dry and transfer the face on. So the face, the neck, and the arms. Now where the bangs come into the forehead, I'm going to kind of feather that up into that area. I don't want a nice solid line up there, so I'm going to go up into the bangs just a little bit. Just kind of feather it in. That way you won't have a hard ridge where the top of the forehead is. Okay, and then also the arms, where you see them coming out from the sleeve into her muff. And it's going to take a couple coats. I could have also used medium white from the Traditions to undercoat this, but I'll just start right with the flesh tone. Okay, and then I'll let that dry. Okay, for the wings, I am going to use the medium white for that. And that's in the Traditions. Okay, I'm going to use my Jillybean Dirty Dancer. What this brush has is a blender brush on one side and a round brush on the other. And this comes in two different sizes. So this happens to be the large. I'm going to use this to kind of fill in all the wing area. I do want it a little bit transparent. I don't want it solid. So a little touch of water into the medium white paint and use the round brush side. Okay, then I'm going to start with the wings with the feathers here, and I'm just going to pull. I've got kind of like a center vein, and I just want to kind of pull strokes towards the center vein. I don't want this too solid, but I don't want it to where I can really see much black left either. So somewhere in between. And I want to be able to see the brush strokes. Try not to flatten it out too much. Now there's a bottom layer of feathers, and then a center layer of feathers, and then what is called some fluff, and then kind of the flip of the feathers. So right now I go start with the bottom layer and pull from the outside towards that center vein. Reload your brush often. It's just kind of loose paint. So here's my center veins, just so you can see where I'm working. And I'm not worried about defining those at this point. I just want to pull the strokes towards. I'm not really making it look too much like feathers yet. I just want to get some of this color in here, so I'll just kind of work quickly. And go all the way off, and if you want you could go ahead and continue your pattern around the edges. This canvas is a wrapped canvas, so it really doesn't need to have a frame afterwards. So if I want, I could continue the wings around to the outside. Okay, then I'll do the next layer. These are my kind of my center veins, and kind of pulling strokes on each side of the center vein. I want to just kind of watch for big crevices of black. I don't want to see big chunks of black. I want a little gray here and there is fine. So loosen your paint up so it comes off the brush quickly. And if you need to, you can always, retrace the edges of the feathers again once this dries. And just kind of fudge it in up next to the angel itself. Okay, then in the area above the feathers, this is kind of an undefined little fluff. So I'm just kind of doing some little like half circles and make that maybe even just a little thinner. So it's a little bit grayer looking. And I'm going to wait on the flip part of the wing because those feathers are going to come down over these areas and I want to be able to see where those are, so I'll wait on those. So on the other side of the wing, you really don't see a whole lot over here. You only see a couple little feathers coming out. And then just kind of fudge in little strokes next to the angel. And this is that little fluff area. So we'll get that kind of filled in. And we'll just let that be. Okay. Okay, now my face is actually pretty dry already. I've got the heat going in the house here, so I'm going to go ahead and get another coat of the flesh on the face. Try not to add water into the paint for base coating the face. I want a nice solid coverage. The neck. And the arms. Okay, and then we'll let those dry. I'm going to start basing in the clothing with dioxazine purple. And that's in the Traditions. This is a really nice color. Let's use our filbert brush again for filling in. I'll start up at the top. I'll put maybe just a little bit of water. This one is a little on the thick side. Just a touch of water, and I'm going to fill in up in the hat. Now I know when this dries it really kind of looks black. It won't be until we put the highlight in that you'll notice the purple. And one coat is going to be good on that. And then we also want to get the sleeves, but not the cuff. Get that all filled in with the purple. Still just using the big filbert brush, like about a number 10. I love using the Tradition paints because of the nice vibrant colors. Yeah, I can get real dramatic color changes with this. Get the other arm. Just one good coat is going to do it. Okay, and then we're going to do the bottom of her dress as well, or the bottom of her coat. But it's going to kind of fade into the black here. So when I put that on, I want it a little bit thicker up at the top and then kind of brush it away towards the bottom. I don't want to see any hard line at the bottom. And if I do, I can always come backwards with my black and fix it. So not a real problem. But lots of color up at the top. And then if you'll kind of lift your brush up and just kind of almost like you're dry brushing so you can't see where it stops. It just kind of fades in. I don't want to see any kind of a hard line where I've stopped in the bottom of her coat. So pulling from the top down, get a good amount of paint on the top there first though. So get lots of paint up there and then lift the brush up and just kind of pull some streaks down in. There's going to be a lot of snowflakes on here afterwards, so a lot of the areas that you fuss over get covered up by other things. So try not to worry too much. And I don't want to be too skimpy with how far I come down because I do want to be able to get some highlights going in here. Okay, now as this dries, it really does just kind of look black, so it fades in. You can see the shine from the wet paint, but it'll be very hard to see where I stopped with this color after. All right. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and in the very top, I'm just going to leave the paint in this brush. And I'm going to continue using the filbert brush. Now this time I'm going to add just a touch of extender. Let's put some extender in the bowl. This is the DecoArt Traditions extender and blending medium. And this gives you more time to play and blend. So I'm going to put it in the brush along with the pink color, which was the dioxazine purple. And this is just such a nice rich color. Okay, and then I'm going to do just a little side load of the white. Now I don't want it to be a pure white as I work. See, as I blend now, it becomes more of a soft lavender color. And I want to try and keep that on one side. Okay, and we're going to zoom in closer to the hat. Okay, now for doing the folds on the hat, I want the highlight to be like on the top edge. So I'll come with my filbert brush and just softly blend that on the edges. Anywhere I might want the folds to come in, I'll kind of hit the little rounded curve and then I'll come into the hat and soften. If I get too much of a hard line, I can always take the blender brush side of my Jillybean Dirty Dancer. Let's see, get that. And just using it dry, just softly blend any kind of hard color or hard edge away. Continue with highlights. If the highlights get too bright, you can come back after and put a little wash of the purple back on top. This doesn't need to be real bold. Add a little crease in the middle there. And definitely across the top edges. Load more color as you need it. Sometimes I can pick it up just from where I was blending it on my palette. And every time I do it, it's going to come out just a little bit different. Let's get those a little bit brighter yet, so a little more of the white on the edge. Okay. And just so that it's a nice kind of a soft kind of a lavender. Okay. And that's all there is for the very top edge of the hat. Okay, then down into the arms and the dress. It's actually a coat. Anytime you need to clean your brush, go ahead and clean it in water. Wipe it off on the towel, but then put extender back into the brush again. And pick up some purple, fill the entire brush with purple. If I need to loosen that color up, I'm going to use extender instead of water now. So if it's a little bit thick, you want to loosen it with just a little touch of extender into the paint. Okay, one edge of the white. I try to keep one spot on my palette where I blend, because then it becomes kind of a loading station also. If I walk all over my palette, I won't have any paint left on my piece anymore. I want to get like the bottom edge of her arm. And don't be afraid to re-stroke over the area and soften and blend. If you need to, you can use your blending brush also. And get the top edge of her sleeve. Very soft touch to blend that in. And then if I want there to be a center highlight in the sleeve rather than an edge, I'm going to kind of flip the brush back and forth. So let's get a little closer look here. Try and get the, see if I can get the shine out of the camera here. Get a little closer. There we go. All right. So if I want there to be like a center highlight in the sleeve here where I wanted it to pop up, and I don't have an edge to go along like I did the very top and bottom, I need to flip the brush so that I can soften, creating a center highlight so that there's not a hard edge. Make that a little bit brighter, so get a little bit more white on there. And that'll just pop that up. Don't be afraid to just kind of play in it a little bit. The top half of the sleeve is going to stay dark because she's got her wing and her cape coming over that. So let's do the other arm also. Load the brush again completely with the purple. Little side load of the titanium white. And I want to blend the bottom edge This is just such nice creamy paint. I just love how easily it blends. A little more paint. And remember, we're not trying to get a bright white. And make kind of another little fold. So I did the top edge and then come down in, do another little edge. Maybe a little bit on the back half of the sleeve as well. If you end up with any kind of hard edges or stopping points, use your dry blender brush and just kind of gently soften those little edges or tips away. Get just a little bit more on the back of the sleeve here. And use your extender to thin the paint if you need to. You want it loose, not transparent, but loose. Okay, and then a side load of the white, but really blend that. So I've got, it ends up so that I've got half dark purple on one side and then lavender on the other. Okay, and I'm going to come and I'll start by getting the edge of the coat. Okay, and where I stop, I'm going to use my blending brush I think I need a little bit of extender on the blender this time because I'm kind of getting down into some dry areas. And I just want that to kind of disappear. I don't really want to be able to see where I stopped. And I might have to switch to a larger blender also when I get into these center areas. Okay, now so the two side edges, that I have a definite edge. And so I am going to get nice bold color on those edges. Okay, now this time I am going to switch to just a regular, instead of my double-ended brush, I'm going to use just a larger blender brush. I am going to dip it in extender and wipe it all off on the paper towel and use that to just kind of camouflage the bottom of my color here. Okay, that worked better. Sometimes you just gotta switch to a little bit bigger brush to make it work. Okay, now in the center I want folds, but now all the folds in the center, I don't want there to be a hard edge. So I'm gonna get this lavender color kind of going in the middle. And then use my blender brush to soften away any hard edges. If you rub too much of it away, just put the color back on, try it again. And look at the direction I'm going with my blender brush. Normally I'm going to go with the direction of the fold. If I pull it the other way, I'd be pulling the color out, and I want it to stay up and down. More paint on the brush again, so extender with dioxazine, a little side load of the white, and I'm still just blending it in that one same spot. But I want to use quite a bit of paint. Usually if it doesn't work, it's because you don't have enough paint. And try not to make your folds too skinny. Too skinny, then it doesn't look like it's nice rounded folds. And if you can make each one a little bit different, some a little fatter, some a little skinnier, that'd be good. Okay, get it in there, and then use your blender brush to soften any hard edges away. I want this bottom to just kind of disappear. And you can decide how many folds you want to have in here. I think I'll do one more hard edge fold over here. So I'll have the hard edge to the right. But then the left side, I'm going to soften it with my blender brush. Yeah, and this is part of the decorator series from Dynasty. This blender brush, it comes in all different sizes, so depending on what size project you're working on. Okay, a couple more, and then that's all there is to the purple. Really not a whole lot of detail in this part of it. And let's just do, I think we'll just do one more big one. I'm just kind of working it down in. I don't want it to be too dry. And I don't want it to be too soupy either. If I get too much extender, it just gets real soupy. So I would stop and blot it with a paper towel. Okay, and then I'm just going to kind of rub away any hard edges. I got extender in the blender brush again, but wipe it all off because I was getting a lot of color in there, so I needed to kind of clean some of that color out. Okay, and that's all there is for the purple of the coat. On the cuffs of the coat, I'm going to be using phthalo blue, and I'll start by basing those in with a little bit of phthalo blue color. There again, this is Traditions. I'm going to just use my double-ended brush this time. I'll use that to both base it in as well as blend. So extender in my round brush and pick up some phthalo blue because I'm going to go ahead and just do it kind of wet on wet this time. So I'm going to fill in that cuff. In fact, let's go ahead and get closer here. I'm kind of ignoring where the gold is, but it wouldn't matter if you did the whole thing and then came back and did the gold afterwards. So, because sometimes when I'm painting this, I really don't know what it's going to look like until I get it all done. So I've got things on top of other things. All right, now I'm just going to go ahead while this is wet, go ahead and get some white in there. So what I'll do is I'll wipe the extra of the blue off, a little bit extra off on my paper towel, and then pick up some of the titanium white, but wipe that off on the palette or the paper towel so it becomes more of a lighter blue. And I want a couple of little highlight areas, so I want like a highlight about right here. So I'm just kind of filling it in, and it's turning more of a light blue. I didn't mix it, it's just that the blue is still wet, so it's turning the white into a light blue. Then flip your brush over, use the blender brush to just gently kind of soften that hard edge. And you've got a nice little blend. If you soften it too much, come back and put some more color on, try it again. And I'm going to get a little bit of this also on the very bottom edge. Let's get in just kind of like you're drawing a line, and then use the blender side to just soften so you don't have a hard edge coming into the cuff. Okay, same thing on the other cuff. Fill it in first. I am going to wash my brush though. I'm going to wash that phthalo blue out of my brush. Re-put extender back into my round brush, pick up the phthalo blue, and base in this blue part of the cuff. And you'll see that the this double-ended brush does have a nice point on the round brush has a nice point, so it allows you to get into the little crevices easier. So get that filled in. Okay, and then I'm going to pick up some titanium white, but not clean the blue out, because I want this to be more of a bright blue, not a bright white. And I'm going to lay in my blue for my highlight. And soften the edge. Top and bottom. In between time, you do want to every so often make sure that you kind of clean your blender brush, because you're picking up color and you want to get that out of there. So, you know, rub it on a paper towel, even pick up some extender, you know, to get some of that extra color out of there. Otherwise, you're not going to get a nice blend. There we go. That's a little better. Because as you're working, you continue to pick up color. Okay, and then let's get a little bit also just on the bottom edge of that blue. Flip the brush over, use the blender, and just soften that top edge so there's not a hard line again.